Hi everyone, Sarah here. Today we'll be talking about the houses in astrology, what each house means and what they're connected to, common placements that could indicate certain things. So it's gonna be a fun video. I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know in the comment section if you like more videos like this. I'm trying to put myself out here. I just think tarot and astrology kind of connect, and we are always watching or tarot videos based in our sun sign, Venus sign, and it would be, I think, very informative if you're starting to learn more or interested now to just get more ideas and insight about it. So if you like this, just let me know. I would love to hear your feedback. Okay, let's start with the concept, right? So when you have your birth chart, before I keep going, if you don't have your birth chart, you can go to astro.com and generate your birth chart for completely free. All you need to know is you put in your birth data and what time you were born, okay? So as you have that, it would be awesome to have that before we even get started. But the birth chart is a picture of the sky when you were born. Like how poetic is that? And when we have that picture, each house, okay, represents one area of our life. And the houses in astrology are traditionally connected to certain signs or certain planets, and we'll be talking about that. So let's start with the first house. The first house is very much represented by Aries, traditionally, in Mars. So when you have your first house, what we are thinking about is the house of the self. It's how you're seeing, how you approach life, and it could indicate a lot about your physical appearance as well. For example, the sign that rules your first house is going to be the sign of the ascendant. Let's say I am a Capricorn rising. If you are Aries rising, that's going to be the first sign starting on the first house. Here, I'm going to put a picture of a birth chart so you can see. Anyways, so with the first house, we're talking about the self, how we assert ourselves, what we want. We can even see as an Aries rising, it is a great example to state with the first house. It's like they're ready to do what they want. They have no time to lose with BS. Like, I want it. Like, they're always on a hurry, impatient, ready to go. Like, Aries rising, it's very much like that. And it's a great representation of assertion of self. For example, if you have Venus in your first house, you could have a very much beautiful head. The first house is very connected to the head as well, if we're talking about a specific part of the body. Or you can have a very beautiful appearance having Venus. It could be easy for you as well to gain weight and indulge in things because Venus is quite indulgent. And that is it when we are talking about first house. So when we go down to the second house, is the house of possessions, financial possessions, what you need to be stable, how easy you make money, or how restricted it could be. It's going to be indicated by your second house. So the second house traditionally is ruled by Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. So we have this sense of comfort and feeling stable and secure within your possessions. That's the traditional energy of a second house. If we're talking about planets or even signs on the second house, let's say if your second house is ruled by Aries, Aries is always ready to start some sort of business in the second house, always ready to chase some money, always ready to get started with something that makes that money. It could be very business oriented, have your own business. That could be a great example of a second house ruled by Aries. Another example could be if you have Saturn in the second house, which could indicate some sort of financial restrictions. It could be that you feel like it's harder to make money, or you want to accumulate a lot of money because of previous things that happen within your life, and because of that you could be quite restrictive, or you feel like you have to accumulate a lot in order to feel good. It's this sense of like not feeling quite stable if you don't have a lot of money, and it could restrict you within what you could do, because you're always thinking about money. If you like, that's a great example of a second house. Like if you have a planet of restriction, pretty much, which is Saturn there. Another thing, being ruled by Venus, it's very much about quantity and comfort and beautiful things and senses and stability. So the second house, having that ability to make that money, is gonna give you the opportunity to experience those things. Now let's talk about the third house. Third house is the house of communication, siblings, as well, short-term travel. This the third house is usually the house that is connected to Gemini, and is traditionally connected as well to Mercury. Mercury rules the third house. So Mercury being the planet of communication, ruling the third house, we're talking about the communication within your life. So how important for you is to communicate? What planets are within your third house? So the third house will tell you a lot about these things. For example, I will talk about myself. I have Saturn in the third house, and that could indicate, it could be seen as multiple in different ways. But for example, Saturn in the third house, it could be that you're very self-aware of how you speak, and you could be you could have had troubles learning on elementary school. You could have had always felt like kind of, or you could have been bullied in school as well, or by your siblings, by the way you talk. Saturn in the fourth house could even talk about speech impediments. So third house is all about communication. For example, a planet as the moon, which represents your emotions, in your third house will mean that you really feel like you need to talk your emotions out, and you will need to conceptualize what you feel to kind of understand yourself better. That you need a lot of conversation. It feels really good for you to be able to talk to people that you care about. To talk about your emotions is quite important for you. So I think just reiterating, third house is all about communication, learning, how inclined you are to learn new subjects, how important is talking and learning about new cultures. Gemini is a very much curious sign, you know, and Mercury as well being the ruler of it. So that's the third house. Let's talk about the fourth house. Fourth house is traditionally connected to the moon and Cancer as well. So fourth house is your roots, man. Like where you came from, the actual home, your childhood, the relationship with your mother, the relationship with your close family. Is that sense of how was for you in your birth chart growing up, how you felt nurtured or not, how it felt. Okay, fourth house talks about all of that. If we talk about great aspects or great planets in the fourth house, let's talk about Jupiter or Venus, for example. They expand. Jupiter could be that you travel a lot as a child, that you had a lot of siblings, you had a big family. It could be that you had a lot of homes as well. You could have lived abroad. You felt like very lucky, like you had a really good childhood. It could be that you know a lot of your what is the name of it, like of your ancestry as well with Jupiter there. Now let's talk about like a planet, for example, Pluto in the fourth house. It could have been a very toxic environment. It could have been connected to abusive parents, or drastic changes, transformative, like very harsh changes within your childhood that could have left you feeling a certain way, or it's something that affected you a lot growing up. So that's the fourth house. When we talk about the fourth house as well, even if you're not children anymore, the fourth house is an adult. It talks about your home. The sign that rules it will tell you kind of like how often do you want to be home, or how the home life is important for you. And the planets there as well, like Venus in the fourth house, could indicate a lot of pets, a lot of different houses, taking a lot of pride in your home, for example. Not exactly pride, but like taking care of the home, buying expensive things for the home. That's very connected to fourth house Venus. Now let's talk about the fifth house. Fifth house. Fifth house is connected to Leo and to the sun. It's very passionate over there. Fifth house matters are always like, taking the risk, going after passion. Passion, like, it's not that type of love that you get married. It can be. But when we are talking about passionate or fifth house love, it's like the passionate ones. There's no sense of I need to get married to you. There's no contract. It could be the flings that you have within your life. Fifth house as well is very connected to children and to creation, how creative you are, how driven to create big things. For example, Jupiter in the fifth house, amazing placement. Love comes really easy for you. You're easily seen, you could have had a lot of romantic partnerships within your life. Jupiter in the fifth house as well, like people just get in love with you. I don't know. Fifth house sun as well. Like, wow, like you are very, very beautiful and people just feel drawn to you. Mars in the fifth house, even more if it's in a fire sign, like you have the power to assert yourself. And some people, like you get into the room, they will notice your presence. You could be quite athletic as well, sturdy. I mean, another thing, fifth house matters. Jupiter in the fifth house could be that you will be having as well lots of children. So it could talk about different areas of your life, whatever themes represented by that house. For example, Saturn in that fifth house. It could indicate that it's hard for you to have that fun, to be passionate, to take those risks. And it could be that you take a little longer to fall in love. It's hard for you to just it's like Saturn talks about restriction, self-preservation, lessons that we need to understand so we don't repeat them. And being in the fifth house, which is the house of fun, children, passion, for you could feel restricted to like having a child. For you, it could be something that you would just do after you're older as well. You could be very, very passionate about your work as well. Now let's talk about the sixth house. Sixth house is very connected to the physical body, to the health of that physical body, and to routine, day-to-day work as well. Fifth house is traditionally ruled by Virgo, and Virgo as well is ruled by Mercury. When we talk about sixth house and third house, both ruled by Mercury, Gemini and Virgo, they are the quite opposites of the same energy of Mercury. Virgo, when we talk about Virgo in general being ruled by Mercury, is the type of energy that is quite analytical and they want to perfect things. Okay, so when we talk about the sixth house within your chart, what kind of routine, how easy for you is to get super in depth about something. Placements on your sixth house could indicate what kind of routine do you want, what kind of restrictions you could have within your body or your physical health. For example, I personally have Chiron on my sixth house, and oh my gosh, which is a Virgo house for me as well. And man, Chiron, it's just rough, it's just rough because sometimes I feel sick from things that are within, like it manifests within my health. So Chiron is one of those placements that you should look into. If you have Chiron in your sixth house or in Virgo, like please check out for how your emotions could be affecting your physical body. You could be wanting to get more in touch with holistic ways of healing yourself, because like I remember myself, like I went to doctors and they were just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what you have. And it can be quite frustrating, but then I started to feel better and the disease, the condition just disappeared. Another thing very connected to the sixth house is your day-to-day, your routines. I think I already said that, but For example, if you have Aquarius in your sixth house, you could be loving in a day-to-day basis, or when it comes to your work, what you do daily, you would love to deal with people. You would love to help other people. The sixth house talks about as well service, because Virgo is greatly connected to service, how you help others, how you perfect things. It's almost it's not selfless, but Virgo likes in sixth house matters like to feel like we're getting to the next level of things, you know, like what is how to perfect my routine, how to have the sense of like, if you have strong sixth house planets, you could have very connected, you could feel very connected to health, want to be very fit, because Virgo is very connected to being in a good condition. For example, moon in the sixth house, you could consider a lot how your physical health or your body itself looks, and you could change a lot because it's the moon being there, like, will change how you feel a lot in your body a lot as well. With the seventh house, seventh house in astrology, seventh house talks about partnerships, marriage, contracts, and anything that involves a one-on-one relationship. Having the seventh house being ruled by Venus, traditionally connected with Libra or Taurus as well, but Libra pretty much. It's quite of a house of how considerate you are, how easy is to dealing with other people. For example, when we are talking about Aries and Libra, they're opposites, but they complement each other. Aries, having Venus in Aries, or Aries on your seventh house, it could make you a little bit fidgety and self-centered. When we are talking about Libra, which is very considerate, love, romance, seventh house is all about those things. How you treat your partner, how easy it's for you to commit to be in a partnership. So if you have your moon, for example, in your seventh house, you love a partnership. You feel very content when you have a partner, so much. If you have, for example, Mercury on the seventh house, it could be that you are really good at understanding or hearing other people's opinions, or you like a partner that is smart or talk a lot. Saturn in the seventh house, it could indicate some sort of restrictions when it comes to getting married or to establishing a serious committed partnership. So that's about that. If we're talking about the eighth house connected to Pluto and Mars, and ruled by our beautiful Scorpio. Eighth house, man. Eighth house, it's other people's resources, very connected to the eighth house. Because when we're talking about Libra creates the partnership, creates the commitment, creates the ease, all of those nice things. And when we get to Scorpio in the eighth house, is the taboos, it's merging with another person, is using sex as a tool of merging with someone. Eighth house matters talk about death, esoteric, occult stuff. How a lot of people with strong eighth house or Scorpio placements will be quite private as well. So eighth house will tell you how easy for you as well is to manage other people's resources. Strong eighth house placements could be great with money and dealing with other people's money. Could be great accountants as well. I remember I met a Capricorn that had strong eighth house Scorpio placements. I was like, yeah, it makes sense that you're an accountant. So that's about it on the eighth house. Eighth house as well, too many strong placements in the eighth house can indicate some sort of compulsion or it depends. It could manifest as you transforming that and working on it, or it can manifest as something that could become compulsive or a transformative experience within your life. When we're talking about ninth house, traditionally Jupiter and Sagittarius. So these ninth house is a very fun. Could be quite connected to religious upbringing, religious philosophy, faith, all those beautiful things. Jupiter as well could rule Pisces if you don't know that. But anyways, ninth house, it's your philosophy. What do you believe? What moves you? What is your it's almost like a sense of life purpose. Like, what do you believe in life to keep you going, you know? Eighth house, strong placements in the ninth house could indicate being a teacher. Talks about as well the sense of institutions, teaching, learning, how well like you love. It's not exactly learning as Mercury or Gemini energy. It's like you want to broaden your horizons, you want to know more, you want to expand, you want to be always looking forward to understanding more. For example, a Venus in the ninth house, it could be that you love to go abroad, you travel a lot, or you could have multiple, it could be kind of hard for you to be in a relationship where you don't feel free. Very strong energy of that. Sagittarius, they love to feel like Sagittarius ninth house matters is the sense that you always could have more. You always could have more understanding. It's quite spiritual as well. Not such as Pisces or a water sign, but like Sagittarius is always ready to learn more. And the ninth house talks all about that. If we're talking about the 10th house talks about your reputation. 10th house is Saturn, Capricorn, traditionally connected to both. But Saturn is that planet that will talk about what you need to learn. It's always ready to teach you a lesson. And the Saturn takes 30 years to complete the cycle. So usually that's why a lot of people talk about Saturn returns, because when Saturn returns to that point in your chart, it's gonna want to see if you learn your lesson. And sometimes it can be quite a lot to take in. It could be a lot. But 10th house matters are about your work, your reputation, what you build upon, how people see you, career, all connected to all these things. And strong 10th house matters could indicate a lot of public life, and that you're seeing a lot. I think Kim Kardashian has the moon in the 10th house, so like she is very much seen by the public, and she is, you know, very famous, I guess. But being connected to Saturn, it's not something that just happens overnight. It's something that you gotta work for. It's something that you want to make it happen. It's something that you will be, you know, like building upon. It's not just overnight thing. It depends. Like, for example, if you have Jupiter in your 10th house, it could be quite good for you to, quite easy to make money, to make a career, to travel. It could be that your career involves a lot of traveling or teaching. So if we're talking about the 11th house is connected to Aquarius. Aquarius is Aquarius and Uranus. In the 11th house is connected to other people. Aquarius in the 11th house are all those matters that talk about other people's rights, friends, very connected to friends, very connected to groups of people, even more if those groups of people have some sort of ideal that is even deeper when it comes to the rulerships, Aquarius and Uranus. It could be strong 11th house placements. It could indicate, let's say, Saturn, restrictive, right? So it could be that it's hard for you to make friends, or you don't feel very comfortable within groups. It could be that it takes a long time, or you could have those set of friends. They're like 5, 3, 2, one hand, but they are your friends for life. Jupiter in the 11th house, it could be that you have a lot of friends. And Mercury in the 11th house, lots of friends, could talk to anyone, anytime. And it just comes easily to you to exchange ideas, to meet people, to have opportunities to meet and connect with groups. That's all connected to the 11th house. So if we talk about The 12th house. The 12th house is quite of a tricky one, because 12th house matters are almost like people just get all like philosophical, because it's kind of the hidden house. It's about sacrifice, it's about selfless serving, it could be about escapism, institutions, when you're institutionalized, like for example in a prison or in a hospital, you know. So 12th house matters are those that, like, it can be quite subconscious. They, depending on the planet, on the aspect, what is really there, what sign rules it. It could be quite a tricky one, even more if you have a lot of planets there. For example, if you have a 12th house sun, you could feel like people don't see you. It could feel like you're not really seen by people, or you're not getting the gratification or the recognition that you feel like you deserve. For other people, it can manifest as they don't want to really be seen. The sun illuminates, it shines. So being in the 12th house, it's on fall, you know, like not really shining if it's in the darkness, it's hidden, you know. So 12th house, very connected to those things. Let's say Saturn in the 12th house could be psychological, subconscious restrictions. It could be afraid of addiction. It could be connected to I really very much with Saturn in the 12th for me, reading birth charts, like what I see the most, it's like people that have subconscious restrictions, or you feel like the world, the universe is out to get you. You have a lot of responsibility. You have like all these burdens, but they are not seen, but they exist. And it's just quite complex and profound sometimes. Moon in the 12th house, you could be incredibly psychic. You could be the type of person that, you know, feel very connected to the universe. You feel like you get spiritual downloads. You could feel like you carrying the burden of people's emotions within your emotions. 12th house, it's all of us. It's all the universe. It's a whole, you know, a whole like a W, not... I know my accent can make it tricky sometimes. But yeah, when we are talking about 12th house, are those... When we're talking about the 12th house, involves the depths of the soul, the subconscious, and deep, deep waters that sometimes you don't even know how to recognize what is really there. So this is our series. We finally finished the second one, and we'll be having more videos like this soon. I hope you really like it. Please let me know what you think. Let me know your placements. Let me know what is the one that you have more trouble with, or that flows easily to you. So that's it for today. I hope to see you soon. Bye.